So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
I think we should, just to get it out the way, people really like to hear your beer story.
Okay.
So how did you get into beer and how did you end up owning this bad boy?
Oh shit, it's actually a pretty long story.
How many beers do we have to go through to get through this story? Yeah.
No, it's too bad. So, yeah, I mean, even as a little kid, I liked drinking beer. I didn't drink beer as a kid. That came out wrong. But I was always attracted to beer. And I went to university at Bishop's University in Lennoxville, Quebec. And I got a job at the local bar, which was a brew pub. And the job was DJing.
Is that the one in Sherbrooke?
Yeah, in Lennoxville, just outside of it. Yeah.
Sweet.
So, I started this job DJing, and it wasn't like, I didn't have like turntables or anything. I'm just like playing music. And I got paid with two $20 bills and 2 pitchers of the house-made beer.
Okay.
Winning.
And I was like, at the time I was buying Wildcat Dry for $10 a 12-pack at the gas station.
I've never even heard of it.
That was my university beer. And then, I started drinking this other kind of house-made craft beer. I guess they weren't using that term at the time. But I was like, this is wicked. Like, it left something... Wildcat Dry, Molson Dry, all these like no aftertaste. And I was like, but I fucking want aftertaste. And so I kind of developed a taste for beer then. And then, back then I was probably like, wouldn't it be cool to own something like this? And then left it. And then, I was professional ski bum for 5 years in BC. And then I left that because I needed to get on with life. And now I realize I was actually living at that time. Now I'm working. But then I was going to be a teacher. I went and taught in Japan. I traveled around Asia a little bit. And then I was going to be an urban planner. And the girl I was seeing at the time was living in Toronto. So after Japan, I moved back to Toronto. And I really didn't want to live there. And I really didn't want to work in a restaurant. I really didn't want to do these things. And ended up finding a restaurant I did want to work at, which is Beer Bistro downtown Toronto.
King Street.
On King Street. And so I walked in there one day thinking, this is going to be like one of these corporate ventures and whatever. And I looked at the beer list and I was like, wow, these guys... This is actually cool.
Yeah.
So I went up and I applied for a job there and I got the job. And then I started, really getting into the beer. I mean, they had beer school there and I was like, this is incredible, right? You sit and drink beer and people tell you history and all about it. So I just started learning. Then I started teaching the program. And through this all, I was like, struggling to figure out what the hell to do with myself. And I was sitting, actually visiting Ottawa at the time, sitting with a friend of mine in the corner of a yacht club, and I was like depressed, and he was like, look dude, he's like, you've been good at 2 things in your life, skiing and drinking beer, and he's like, skiing clearly is not working out, so why don't you think about going to brewing school? And I was like, well, I didn't grow up in an environment where like being a brewer was a life choice that you could actually make, and I was like drinking this, it was a Hogarden, I remember the exact beer, and I was like, well, somebody made this, so why can't I do this? Absolutely. And I was always really heavily into cooking and just desk job was never going to work for me. So then I just kind of looked into it. I went and I did 3 internships in 3 different countries. I went and worked a week at Avery Brewing Company in Colorado. I went and worked a week at Fuller's in London. And I went and worked a week at Cantillon in Brussels. And after doing that, I was like, I'm sold. This is exactly what I want to do. And so I enrolled in the American Brewers Guild in Vermont, went to school, and then started brewing professionally. And there was never a moment where this wasn't the goal.
This was the end game.
It was
from the
always
beginning.
the end game from the beginning. And so, we got open 1.5 years ago after writing a business plan and setting it up for 2.5 years and off to the races.
So where does the name Tooth and Nail come from? Is there a meaning behind it?
There's a huge meaning behind it. I mean, it came to me in the shower one day when I was listening to some song, and they might.
Did you have a shower beer in hand? That was the question.
Chances are good. I don't really remember.
I'd certainly hope so.
Yeah.
But the name Tooth and Nail is like, it's a total homage to the earliest craft breweries. So Sierra Nevada, Anchor, Sam Adams, I'm sure I'm missing a few. And the whole theme is like they had to fight tooth and nail just to get a bar owner to put this weird fucking beer on.
Yeah.
Or they had to fight tooth and nail just to, get someone to put the beer on their shelf or any of these things, right? So that's really where it comes from. Yeah. And then you can even think more locally in terms of Ottawa, Like when BAOS started in 2006, they had to fight tooth and nail just to get a bar owner to take this weird local beer, right? So it's really, without all those people paving the way, this probably wouldn't have been a possibility. You know?
It speaks to the
So-
struggle of new craft beer
Sure,
owners coming up
sure.
in the game and fighting against the large macro conglomerates and,
Yeah.
like you said, fighting tooth and nail to get ahead and get
That's
their
it.
name out there.
Yeah.